It started with a box hidden in the back of Mom's closet. She'd never spoken of Wexbridge, Massachusetts, her childhood home. But after her funeral, when grief left me blind to everything but memory's hollows, I found that box. Inside lay yellowed letters, faded photographs, and a single sheet of paper, a deed to a ramshackle house at the edge of Black Ridge Forest. I was 27, fresh out of an unfulfilling job and desperate for direction. I took it as a sign. Maybe Wexbridge held answers, family secrets, inheritance, maybe just a place to remove myself from the static of suburban life. I packed my car with essentials, clothes, a flashlight, my grandmother's antique tape recorder, and drove 200 miles north, chasing a past I barely understood. The town greeted me with dead silence. Autumn leaves skittered across empty streets. Windows stared down like dark, unblinking eyes. A single diner on Main Street served coffee to a handful of regulars who eyed me like a stranger who'd stumbled into a dream they'd rather forget. At the counter, the waitress, a woman in her 60s, slid me a mug.
"New here?" she asked, voice rough as gravel. "I inherited the old Holloway place," I said, trying to sound casual, as if anyone in America announced such a thing to a stranger at breakfast. Her hand froze mid-pour. She swallowed, glanced toward the window facing the forest. "Don't stay past sunset," she whispered. "Something got in that house a long time ago." I laughed it off. Courtesy, coffee, small talk between strangers. But I heard her. I felt the words settle deep in my chest, like snowfall smothering a fire. The Holloway house sat at the forest's fringe, its white paint peeled and flaking, roof sagging in places, windows boarded unevenly. I felt my heart thrum in my throat the moment I saw it. The forest behind was so dense it swallowed the sun. Moss draped the porch railing, weeds cracked the walkway. And yet, something flickered behind one cracked window pane, like a candle's glow. I unlocked the creaking gate and stepped onto the porch. The front door swung open under my touch, no key needed. Inside, the air was damp and smelled of mold, lavender, and something too sweet, metallic. My grandmother's voice echoed in my mind. "You'll find more here than memories." I tried the light switch. Nothing. I opened my backpack, set the tape recorder on the floor, and clicked the lamp on. The bulb flickered, then flared to life. Furniture stood draped in white sheets, like specters frozen in time. Portraits on the walls showed stern faces. My grandmother as a child, her parents, a man in a suit I didn't recognize. One painting caught my eye. A family gathered around that very house, children clutching hands, but the faces were blank ovals, No eyes, no mouths, just smooth canvas where features should be. I swallowed hard. My grandmother's dementia, was it more than illness? Had she been fighting something here? I shivered and decided to tour the rest of the house before nightfall swallowed me here for good.
Upstairs, 5 bedrooms. The first held a child's bed and stuffed animals browned with age. On the nightstand lay a cassette tape marked December '62. Next room, guest quarters, untouched. Then my grandmother's old room, with a vanity mirror still lined with old-fashioned perfume bottles, dust forming tiny halos on their stoppers. Then a study, walls lined with books on psychology, folklore, and black mirror symbology. The last door led to the attic, locked with a heavy iron latch. I returned downstairs as light drained from the windows. Shadows stretched across the room. I pressed my back against the wall, adrenaline flooding my veins. I unpacked a small notebook, thumbed through the photographs from the box, pictures of my grandmother as a child in that house, but always at twilight, her face solemn, lips pressed tight, eyes darting toward corners where no one stood. On the last page lay a note in her spidery script: "Do not open what was sealed. Do not watch." My recorder sat waiting on the rug. I loaded the December '62 tape, pressed play. Static hissed for what felt like an eternity. Then, a woman's voice, soft but hollow.
Day 1. Subject arrives. She looks the same, but something in her eyes, it flickers. I paused, my pulse hammering, then rewound and hit play again. Day 1. Subject arrives. She looks the same, but something in her eyes, it flickers. That voice rang in my head. My grandmother? No, this was clinical, detached. Lab notes, perhaps? Mental ward recordings? I flicked through the tapes. January '63, February '63, each with similar labels. I stuffed them in my bag. I would listen later. I needed dinner. The kitchen held ancient cabinets and a table with placemats woven from reeds. A single note lay on the table: "Eat nothing after dark." The handwriting was shaky. I tossed it aside. The fridge opened with a groan. Empty. I microwaved cold coffee from my thermos. Night closed in. Rain tapped at the windows. The wind moaned through cracks. I started a fire in the stone hearth. Wood crackled, gave off a comforting glow. I sat near it, listening to the house settle. Then I heard soft footsteps from upstairs, slow, deliberate, not mine. I froze. "Hello?" My voice trembled. No answer. The flames danced. I peered into the doorway. Silence. I grabbed my recorder, heartbeat thudding, pressed record. "Anyone there?" I whispered. Only my echo answered. A creak above, then a whisper, "Come back." The tape flickered, then silence. I raced upstairs, heart in my throat. The attic door stood ajar. Before it was latched. Now it was wide open. My lamp revealed stairs spiraling into darkness. I hesitated. Every instinct screamed to run, but morbid curiosity pulled me forward. I climbed. Each step groaned. At the top, the attic stretched cavernous, beams crisscrossing above like ribs. In the center sat a single chair facing a curtained window. On the seat lay a tape recorder, identical to mine, loaded with a tape labeled simply "Hollowing." The curtain quivered. I reached out, fingers brushing dusty fabric, then yanked it aside. Beyond the window, forest black as tar, reaching into night. No moon, no stars, only dense darkness. And then a face pressed against the glass. A child's face. Pale, wet-looking skin. Eyes hollow sockets, black as coal. Its lips stretched in a grin too wide to be human. I stumbled back, heart hammering. The recorder clicked on by itself. The tape began to play. Day 7. The subject sees them. They're close. Their faces in the dark. We move to the next stage. I yanked the recorder, climbed down, and fled. Rain lashed my skin. The house loomed behind me, windows like dead eyes watching. I tripped over roots. Branches tore at my clothes. I didn't stop until I reached my car, soaked and trembling. I sped to the diner. The waitress looked up, unmoved. She asked, "Nightmare?" I dropped the tapes on the counter. She slipped them into her coat. She said, "Best leave them there. They belong to the hollow." I didn't argue. She slid a stuffed envelope toward me, a town map, a key to a locked safe in the sheriff's station, an address marked Records. I drove through pouring rain, following her directions. The old stone station sat at the edge of town. I knocked. No answer. The door was unlocked. Inside, papers strewn across desks, files toppled. On the wall hung an old photo of the Holloway house, circa 1910, with a family framed in front. The father wore a suit, mother a high-necked dress, children clutching hands, faces blank ovals. A shot of cold fear ran through me. I found the safe behind the reception desk. The map's numbers fit. I entered the code. Inside, ledgers recording every family that lived in that house from 1902 to 1975. Each name crossed out, labeled, hollowed. I flipped pages, dates, times, circumstances, midday siestas, family dinners, children's birthdays, until the ledger read 1975, Last entry. Subject vanished. No body found. File sealed.
1975. Last entry. Subject vanished. No body found. File sealed. I ripped the papers, stuffed them in my bag, and fled back to the car. Rain pounded the windshield. I started the engine. As I turned the key, the tape recorder on the passenger seat clicked on. The tape labeled "Hollowing" whined into life. I shut the car off. Silence fell heavy as guilt. I paused, then pressed play. Static, breathing, a voice, calm, intimate. You left the house, but the house never left you. Hollowing continues. In your blood, your bone, your shadow. I slammed the recorder off. My hands shook. I drove back to the house, intent on burning it down. Fire felt like justice. But when I arrived, the house stood unscathed. Flames licked at the porch, then recoiled. The wood turned a sickly pale, like flesh rejecting fire. The structure groaned, then settled. I backed away, knees buckled. As dawn broke, I stumbled in through the front door. The interior was changed. The furniture stood differently. Portraits on walls rotated to face me. The oval faces were gone. The people painted there had eyes again, eyes that followed me with sorrow, pleading. I reached the attic. The chair stood empty. The curtain billowed. I stepped in. The recorder lay on the floor. On the armrest, my photograph, taken days before, cut from a magazine I didn't recognize.
But I saw myself in that image, smiling, healthy, except the eyes were gone. Black holes that seemed to draw the light in. I backed out, then heard a soft singing behind me, my mother's lullaby. I whirled. In the hallway stood the woman from the diner, drenched in moonlight, her eyes empty sockets. She reached out. I tried to run, but the floor swallowed my legs. I fell, the world spinning. She knelt beside me, voice hollow. You carry the hollowing place now. You are its new subject. I screamed. My vision flickered. The walls stretched. Shadows reached with long fingers. The tape recorder clicked on. A chorus of voices whispered, "Give us your shape, your mind, your eyes." I blacked out.
When I awoke, I was beneath the house, in a chamber carved from earth. Symbols burned into the walls, glowed faint red. Dozens of tape recorders lined the floor, each playing fragments of childhood laughter, weeping, confessions. My grandmother's voice, my voice, voices I didn't recognize. They blended into a single howl. In the center lay a mirror, full length, its frame entwined with roots. I stepped forward. My reflection showed me wearing my grandmother's hospital gown, her face swollen with tears, her eyes mirrors reflecting everything and nothing. My mouth opened to scream, and the chamber echoed it back 12 times until the sound blended into the walls themselves. I reached out. My fingertips brushed the glass. The mirror shattered inward, silent shards frozen in midair. I stumbled back. The voices fell silent. The symbols dimmed. Then one last whisper. Finish the hollowing. A gust of wind extinguished the faint glow. Darkness swallowed me.
I do not know how long I lay there. Minutes, hours, days. Time lost all meaning. When I finally crawled out, I found myself outside the house, dawn light filtering through gray clouds. The house looked abandoned once more, no sign of last night's torment. I drove away. I left Wexbridge behind, but I can't leave it in my mind. The hollowing started inside me that night. I feel it during dreams and waking moments, the faint urge to scratch symbols on walls, to play the tapes again, to go back to the chamber beneath the floor. I still carry the tape recorder, though I've replaced its batteries 12 times. Sometimes it clicks on by itself, playing a child's laugh or my mother's voice. I don't know if I should destroy it or save it. Maybe somewhere out there is the last tape, the one that ends this. But every tape feels like an invitation, a demand, a promise that the hollowing will finish only when I do. So if you ever find a house that feels hollow, a tape with no label, a mirror that doesn't reflect you but something else, run. Don't wait. Don't listen. Because once you carry the hollowing place in your blood, you become its next subject, and you will never leave. The end, if an end still exists.